Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and today I thought I would talk to you about the books that I'm going to be taking on holiday. So I'm going on holiday in the beginning to middle of September, so there might be a little gap on my channel, but I'll be back in the middle of September by about, I think it's the 16th of September, which is when I'll be starting the 13th tale read along, so I will be back for that, don't worry, but there might be a little gap in between. But I thought today I would talk a little bit about some of the books that I'm going to be reading on holiday. I have 2 review copies I know I'm going to be taking along with me, and then I thought for the rest of the books I would let my TBR jar decide. So this is something you probably haven't seen for a while. I spoke about this in my goals video for this year way back in January. So my aim was to every month pick 2 titles out of this jar and then read whichever of the ones I wanted to read the most. I have been doing that pretty successfully. I think there's 1 month that I didn't manage to do it for, but all the rest I have managed to pick something out of this jar. And everything in this jar is not all the unread books on my shelf, but all the unread books on my shelves in my flat that I have owned since before 2018. So trying to get off my shelf some of the books that I've owned for a while that have been sat there for a long time. And my aim had been roughly, vaguely, a little bit to get this empty by the end of the year, which I don't think is quite going to happen. I think there were 60 titles in this jar at the beginning of this year, and I did take them all out again and count, and there are now 29, so I'm doing quite well, but there's still quite a lot more to read. It would be nice, however, to get through a lot of them and to know that the majority of books on my shelves in my flat are books I've acquired in the last year or so and haven't been sitting there for a really long time. This is only talking about the books in my flat. I haven't even considered or thought about all the many unread books I have at my parents' house, many of which have been sat in my old bedroom for a very long time. Before I pick some books out of that TBR jar, let me talk about the 2 review copies that I'm going to be taking on holiday with me. The first review copy I'll be taking on holiday is Washington Black by S.E. Echegoyen. This was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize, and Servant's Tale got in touch with me and asked me if I wanted a review copy, and I said yes please, because this is a historical fiction novel set in the 19th century, which is just like, that's what I like. I've taken off the thing so you can see how beautiful this cover is. I will definitely be removing this dust jacket before it goes in a suitcase. Like I said, it's set in the 19th century in America. It's about a young boy who is a slave and sort of what happens in his life and his relationship, especially with his master. It's been longlisted for the Man Booker Prize, which is exciting. I have a mixed past with the Man Booker Prize. I have read some brilliant books that have won or been shortlisted or longlisted for the Man Booker Prize, and some which I was less convinced by, but I'm always very excited to see historical fiction on there, and this sounds something that will be right up my street. I'm really looking forward to it. Next review copy I have is also a historical fiction book, and that is The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Society by Marianne Schaefer and Annie Barrows. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I have been meaning to read it for a very long time, by which I mean that several years ago, when I was still living at home, I borrowed my mum's copy to take on holiday with me and then failed to read it. So I have been meaning to read it quite immediately for ages and just haven't got around to it. But people who are doing the DVD very kindly sent me a copy of the book and also the DVD, so I'm looking forward to watching the film adaptation of this at some point when I'm back from holiday and have read this. This is set in the Second World War on Guernsey and looks at a society who partly discuss literature and also partly try to resist Nazi occupation of Guernsey. So it sounds absolutely fascinating. It's also, I believe, written in the form of letters, and I just heard a lot of great things. It sounds very much like my kind of thing. And now we shall pick out some books of the TBR jar. So I'm not going to immediately bring everything that I pick out. If there's any Victorian literature in here, I think there's 1 or 2, I will save them for Victober. And if there's any non-fiction, I'll probably save it for non-fiction November. Also, I don't want to take a whole ton of hardbacks with me on holiday, so, you know, I'll see the size and the weight of the titles I pick out of here. I probably want to take 7 or 8 books on holiday with me if I'm going for like 10 days, so aside from the 2 I already have, I will probably pick out 5 or 6 titles from here, depending on the size of them. And I will bring my Kindle with me for backup, because I would never want to be caught without a book to read anyway, would I? So let's go. Ah, Pseudotooth. This is Pseudotooth by Verity Holloway. This book was sent to me for review by Unsung Stories quite a while ago. I'm gonna say a year and a half ago. So I've been meaning to read this for ages, but it's just never really been at the top of my list, partly because it's a genre I don't read masses of. To be honest, like a year and a half ago, I was much less choosy about the books I accepted to receive review copies of, but I would still like to read it. I gather it's a kind of like magic realism fantasy sort of book, which follows a woman who is having unexplained blackouts and apparently blurs the lines between dream, fiction and reality. So hopefully I will enjoy this one on holiday. Next one. That's 2. Well, I'll pick out 2 then. Mariana. So this is Mariana by Monica Dickens. This is a Persephone classic, and I'm not going to lie, I bought this one / asked for it for Christmas because Monica Dickens is the great-granddaughter of Charles Dickens, and I thought it would be an interesting read. It was first published in 1940, and apparently is about a young woman sort of making her way in the world, potentially falling in love, and has been described as the, like, 1940s Bridget Jones's Diary, so I am very curious about this one. Another one I think where I will be taking off the dust jacket before it goes in a suitcase. And the other one that came out of the jar at the same time as this is At the Edge of the Orchard by Tracy Chevalier. I really like Tracy Chevalier. I've read 2 of her books before, The Girl with the Pearl Earring and The Last Runaway, both of which I really enjoyed. The Edge of the Orchard, like The Last Runaway, is a book set in 19th century America and is a kind of pioneer novel. So I think it might be quite interesting to read this in comparison to Washington Black, looking at various sort of different sides of 19th century American life. I'm very interested in the kind of history of the 19th century as a whole, and I studied 19th century American history at school actually, so it's really interesting when I read books set in that time period. Apparently this follows the kind of fortunes and struggles of the Goodenough family, so really looking forward to reading this one. I really enjoy reading historical fiction on holiday actually, so this is definitely a good one to pick. Next one. Maybe I don't need, I'm probably not going to need as many books as I thought I was because I picked out some fairly chunky books. So, The Underground Railway. Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad will also be really interesting to read alongside Washington Black because it too looks at slaves in 19th century America with, I believe, some magic realist elements thrown in. I heard a lot of great things about this and picked up a free copy at work about a year ago and just have been meaning to get to it since and haven't managed to. But yeah, hopefully I will enjoy this one. Ooh. More historical fiction. This is The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. I've been meaning to read some more Emma Donoghue for ages. I read Room about 2 years ago and thought it was a really, really powerful and interesting novel. I got The Wonder for Christmas the year before last and have been meaning to read it for a long time. I believe that it's set in 19th century Ireland and follows the story of a young girl who seems to be staying alive without eating or drinking anything, and the sort of people around her who are looking into whether this is possible and whether this is true and whether it's all sort of a fake and things like that. I've heard really great things about this and I have been meaning to get to more Emma Donoghue for a while, so definitely looking forward to this one. I think I'm going to pick out one more title, and then when I come to pack my suitcase I might end up leaving one of these behind, but we'll see. Aha! Number 11. This is Number 11 by Jonathan Coe. This is a proof copy which I picked up for free when I worked at Foyles, which was 3 years ago now, so had this on my shelf for quite a while. I love Jonathan Coe, or at least I loved him very, very much several years ago and haven't read anything by him since. I studied What a Carve Up at university and absolutely adored it, after which I read The Rotters Club and The Rain Before It Falls in sort of quick succession, really, really enjoyed them all, and then haven't read anything by Jonathan Coe for quite a while. So I picked this up when I saw a review copy at Foyles at work, and then I just haven't read it. I know it's quite politically involved, so it might feel a little bit outdated because it is a few years old now and I think it was very sort of topical when it came out, but I'm still really excited to read it. And Number 11 has in fact been compared quite a lot to What a Carve Up in terms of its sort of satirical way of looking at politics, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. There we have it. This is my giant stack of reading for holiday. I probably am not actually going to manage to fit all of these in my suitcase and will probably end up leaving one behind, but I'm really excited to get to all of these, and the one I leave behind I might still try and get to in the latter part of September. Really excited to get to these, and I'm also really looking forward to my holiday. So like I said, my videos might be a little bit intermittent in the next 2 weeks, but I'll be back with my 30th Tale read along and other such things in the second half of September, and then Victober. It's nearly time, guys. I'm so very excited. That's all for today. Please let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.